Hello, everyone. It is me, Danielle J. Mitchell, your up-and-coming queen of real estate. And thank you for joining me on today's and this week's Tuesday Tip It Tip. So please be sure to like, share, comment, all that good stuff, whatever this is saying right here. Subscribe, of course, because you have to know when I'm going live. Now that's out the way. All right. So what I'm going to talk about today is paperwork. All right. So I think I'm going to do a little mini series on just paperwork. Okay. So the great thing is I'm going to be sharing my screen and showing you the different type of paperwork that you will need to sign up with me, Danielle J. Mitchell, and what I typically use. Now, two of these documents are just the standard documents that you're going to sign with any realtor. Well, actually, I would say three of them. Three of them are the standard documents that you're going to sign with any realtor for a transaction if you are a buyer. But there is an additional piece of paper that you may or may not sign with a realtor. It just depends on the process. Also, these documents, two of them you'll get likely right up front. And then you might get the other documents later. So again, it just really depends on how the realtor handles their business. But if you're signing up with me, this is the documents that I'm going to give you in signing up to work with me. Okay. So what I want to do is go over these documents. Okay, so typically you're going to see first the consumer notice. Now I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we'll dive right into it. All right, you're going to hear all my jewelry. Try to take it off. You're going to hear it all. But the first document is the consumer notice. Okay, so here's the thing about the consumer notice. The consumer notice explains the different duties and responsibilities that an agent, okay, has to consumers, and that consumers may enter into an agency relationship, which essentially is going into contract with me to work with me as your realtor. And we'll go over that next. Into agency relationship with a licensee, which would be me. I have my real estate license. It gives the buyer notice that until a business relationship is selected by signing, okay, a written agreement, which is, again, the buyer agency contract, the licensee, what would be me, is not representing him, and any confidential personal or financial information should not be disclosed to the agent. It is not a contract. So now, here's the thing about the consumer notice. It is letting you know that I am a licensed professional. It is letting you know that because of that, this is my job duty, right? So this consumer notice is going to be signed when whether I'm selling, helping you sell a home, buy a home, whatever. We're going over buyer paperwork this time around, but this is always going to be a part of me having dealings with anyone in real estate, no matter what capacity. Okay. So it is important to know. Now we're talking about being a buyer agent, right? We're talking about signing up buyers to work with me. So it clearly states in the paragraph here what that is supposed to entail as a buyer agent. Okay. Moving forward, you have below, regardless of business relationships, selected all licensee owe consumers this duty. So these are the duty whether you are officially my client or not, how I'm supposed to behave and conduct myself as a licensed professional. Okay, so being honest, being in good faith. We do have like a code of ethics, particularly as realtors, that we are held to. So yeah, it's just going through the whole list. I'm not going to, go through each and every detail, because if you do sign up with me as your realtor, you can peruse these documents yourself at your own time. But I want to make it very clear that the point of a consumer notice is for the consumer to let you know, hey, this is not a contract, but you are working with a licensed professional, so nobody can feel like, well, I didn't know, I was hoodwinked, bamboozled, and led astray. I was taken advantage of. Nope. You have to know that I am an expert in my field, and whatever I say to you is coming from a place of being an expert in my particular field. Okay. And so that's pretty much it, guys. All right. At the bottom here, it talks about the real estate recovery fund. So, if so happened, somebody felt hoodwinked or led astray, not by us. But they can call that number if there was some problem in some way, shape, or form. I always give my clients these documents before we really start going into details. I will ask preliminary questions just to give them an idea of whether or not they are ready to buy. But at the end of the day, the moment I start working for you is after you sign these documents, particularly the consumer notice. Some people are a bit more hesitant in regards to signing a contract upfront, but before we talk about I show you any real estate, the consumer notice must be handled and signed first. Okay, so let's dive into it because this document is the biggie. Okay, so as you can see here, we have the buyer tenant agency contract. So you see all the information here is going to be typically pre-filled, and you're just going to start out with putting your name, your address, your basic information, of course. Okay. Now, as we move down, you're going to it's going to be the contract start and end date. Typically, I do contracts, me personally. This is not every realtor. Some realtors do 3 months. The standard is maybe 6 months. I typically do my contracts a year out, and kind of make that standard because it's just easier sometimes. But the thing about the buyer agency contract or buyer tenant contract, buyer and tenant are used interchangeably. The thing about that particular this particular contract is that both parties, if they want to stay in it, that is great, honoring the contract. But if for some reason, a party is not working out, something's going astray, either the buyer / tenant or myself can maybe have a moment where we have a discussion in regards to moving forward with working together. Okay, so it's not something where it's like you're locked into a contract. There is no way of getting out. No, if we have a conversation, it's an amicable, and sometimes it's not amicable, right? Sometimes it's just like, buyers can feel the way they want. That has not happened to me personally, and I don't expect or anticipate it happening, but it can happen, right? Sometimes things just don't work out, or for some reason things don't gel. You can have that conversation. It is important to have the conversation though, because if you do not have the conversation and a person just falls off the face of the earth, just randomly sign up with another agent, and I find out about it, I could recoup the commission that other agent worked so hard to get in regards to you. So, that can happen. And I will be a realtor is in their a legal right to do so. If you're under contract and there was no conversation, nobody text, nobody called, nobody said, hey, I want to part ways, I want to do something else. So it's important that if you're working with a realtor, that you work with that realtor solely, okay? Because that's the way to do it. That's how it works. All right. So I don't want to stay stuck there, but I just want to make that very clear. Now here, when it comes to a buyer, on the buying side, typically you're not paying the buyer's agent commission. Okay, that's going to be paid from the selling side typically. But for some reason, I always give this example. What if a buyer finds a home on like Zillow, all right, and it's a for sale by owner, okay, and that for sale by owner is like Nope, I'm not interested in paying, the realtor's commission because I'm not being represented by a realtor. Then, you and I, can have that conversation at that time in regards to my commission, how much I would charge, and it would be charged to you on the back end, which would be at closing. Okay. But again, in typical fashion, the selling side will pay my actual compensation. There is, however, what's called a broker's fee. And this is very, broker's fee is these are typical things. So I want to make it very clear these are typical things. All right. The fee for my particular brokerage is $4.95. It's an optional broker's fee that's due at the time of closing. Okay. Broker's fee is just, using a real estate service, essentially. Essentially. We can talk in greater detail about that if you'd like. So moving on down, dual agency. Okay. Dual agency, meaning that what if that for sale by owner wanted me to represent them as well as represent you. In that case, we would have the conversation because you are my client first. Hey, this seller wants me to represent them for the transaction work, so both sides. Are you okay with that? My responsibility is to you and to the person in which I'm in contract with, right? And I have a business relationship. So therefore, I'm going to make sure that it is okay with my buyer that I am a dual agent in a transaction. Okay. Designated agency means that anyone in a brokerage could work with you and my brokerage could work with you. That is not the case. When you sign up with me and work with me, you are working with me. And that is all. All right. So this just goes into more detail. Broker service others, the entire contract. Again, what I talked about earlier, we're talking about changes to the contract. That is something that has to be discussed. And if we wanted to do some changes to the contract, we can update this particular one. Confidentiality, that's a very important piece because all the information that you share with me that we talk about during the whole transaction is something that is just between you and I solely, even if it was a parent or somebody that introduced me to you, whatever. Nope, that's not the case. It is not the case that I would share with them. It would be the case that I'm sharing everything and all details with just you. Okay. I want to jump down, talk about deposit money. That's referring to the earnest money deposit, which I've talked about in the past, which means that the typically listing, when you're a buyer, the listing brokerage will hold the money in escrow until after you put in an offer until the time of settlement. Okay. And again, we can talk about that in greater detail. But I just want to run through each of this is a 4-page document. Each page has to be initial, and then the last one has to be signed. All right. Civil Rights Act talking about discrimination. No discrimination of any kind. That cannot happen. Megan's Law means that sex offenders have to report where they are living. Buyer inspections. Okay, so I've talked about this before during buyer inspections. They're pretty much letting you know that a house is essentially as is, okay, outside of whatever repairs and things that were agreed upon and negotiated with the seller. Okay. Recording on a property, you are not allowed to, and this is a PA actually rule, state rule, that you just can't go around recording people's conversations. That's one of the things that said. And then at the end, like I said, you sign here, I would sign, and then we would be in business and working together. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. And again, if you have any other questions, of course, you can contact me and I'll get you my contact information. So the last couple documents are really fast. You have this, they're called the buyer's financial information. Of course, you just put your name, your address. Now, this is a document that I typically have my client sign up front because it's a document that I will have my client submit with an offer. And the great thing about this document is that it helps you look great, right? It's giving you a financial snapshot of yourself, right? And when you're in a seller's market, as I've been saying, it's very good to have an edge, if you will. So if you have a great savings, you clearly have, good stable income, then that seller can see, hey, this person will likely be able to get to the finish line, which is settlement day, and we shouldn't have any problems arise as far as their, mortgage looking, them not being able to go through the underwriting and getting clear to close. So it looks stronger on paper. Like, okay, this person looked like they can fulfill the terms of the contract, which would be the agreement to sell. So these are just some simple questions that have to be, asked where you occupy the premises. Nobody else is getting this but myself, and at the event that we put in an offer for a home. Okay, that is all. So, bank accounts, assets, liability, all the other stuff. Some people want to withhold with this document, but it's really actually good to just, be 100% honest because, again, it works to your advantage. Okay. You put your employment information here, your salary, any overtime, and then any additional information that, pretty wasn't a line item in the before slots up there. Okay. And then you just sign at the bottom. All right. Again, all this information is, it's going to be something that I'm seeing, but and only the seller in the event that you go to put it in on offer. Now, lastly, you have for your production, get a home inspection. Okay. This document, again, may come in later. I know that you have to do this document has to be signed if you are getting an FHA loan. I typically will have my clients sign it whether they get an FHA loan or not, just, to be on the safe side, number one, and just so you understand an inspection. That inspections are a good thing, that they're helpful. This briefly goes over that the difference between an appraisal and a home inspection, which I know I've talked about. And this is a simple, check the box, sign, and I see your comments. I'm catching up. Another yes, another workshop. You're right about it. I don't even think, and that's a good point that you bring up. I don't even think I go through these documents during my home buying workshops. I think I usually just save that until somebody signs up, and then we get into it. Now these documents we do go over in consultation. Speaking of which, let's talk about it. You can go to book djmrealty .com if you would like to have a consultation. But these documents are definitely something I talk about in our consultation, go over, answer any questions in more detail and at greater length. I just really wanted to give an overview and a snapshot of what these documents are and what they entail. I hope that was beneficial. Again, if you have any further questions in regards to these documents, if you want to sign up and work with me, you can do so as well. And again, the link you can use below, or I think my phone number and all that good stuff is in the description. Enjoy your day. At this moment right now, it is actually starting to snow again. So drive safe, be safe, stay warm, and I hope to talk to you guys soon. And remember, there is no place like home and no place like home buying. Thanks so much, and talk to you soon. Bye.